So here we are yet again, Gabe. And of course, I'm just gonna kick right into it and ask you a question because there's been something that's been on my mind here recently that I wanted to pick your brain about, and that is, you and I are sales guys. We talked about it in the last episode, and it's just the fact of who we are. What's the fastest way to close a deal? And asterisk on that is it ever okay to be pushy, or is it necessary?
Fastest way to close a deal is the fastest way to make the least in a client partnership. And so if you want to learn all the psychological tricks and know how to like really stick the dagger in somebody's pain and dig around and make
Mm,
it really uncomfortable, you can probably get them into such a heightened emotional state and so fearful or in so much pain that they will hand over any amount of money. And I have been around and learned and seen the what is called kind of in the high ticket closer space, all the psychological tricks. So that's
yep.
the fastest way to take somebody's money, and it's also the fastest way to dramatically increase your chargebacks, your refund requests,
Yep.
and your customer churn. So if you want to do it really fast, and make your business chaotic and painful and get a really bad reputation, then just manipulate the hell out of people and see how that works out for you.
See
So
how fast you can break your business. You know what I mean? It's the
yeah,
truth, and we see it so often where people just do anything and everything voraciously for the sale, rather than just helping somebody out, providing a free resource, building a relationship. If
yeah,
it's a no, that's okay. You know what I mean? It might not be the best fit for them.
yeah,
And so today I wanted to go over a couple of things with you and just kind of pick your brain on a better way to sell, right?
yeah,
And it's one for us that not only gets results for the clients, but it feels good. It's the right thing. It's a good thing to do for somebody. Um, but before we get into the feel good, Gabe, I have something interesting for you. So, me and my good friend in the business, Ashley, were scrolling through Reddit, checking out the small business Reddit, sales and marketing. We're always up to date on that stuff. And I found an absolute horror story that I wanted to just get your opinion on and share with the audience of what not to do when you're selling, right? Because we've all had this experience, right? uh, or at least something similar to this. So I'm going to read this to you, and then just give me what you think about it. See if you think it's a good way to go about selling. So this is a story from Reddit. So I was recently at the mall this weekend, and I was walking by and got stopped by a saleswoman to demonstrate some skincare items. And this person said she likes to hear sales pitches, and might purchase the item if it works. So she stopped and heard her out, right? The woman was good at her craft, she said, talking about what's in it, why it's the best, complimenting her, using all the sales techniques, right? She uses one product, and the lady writing the story was interested in it. She was like, okay. And then she tells the woman the price, $100 per tube. She's like, nope, that is way too much for me. That is too rich for my blood. So, um, as she's like, okay, and then she starts, being like, all right, all right. So she gets off the chair that she sat in. The lady grabs her arm and says that she'll give her a huge discount once she shows her the other stuff. And so the lady's like, okay, she had a little bit of time to burn. She was at the mall, and so she stayed. And she puts like four different lotions or skincare products of the $100 tubes in her bag and places it in the bag of clothes that she had already purchased as she's like demonstrating this stuff, thinking that like this person didn't notice. And she's like, I see you doing that. So at that point, she's like, all right, she's bored with this obvious scam, and she decides to politely say, I'll go to my bank and see if I have enough money in my account, just trying to break off. Um, and I'll perhaps come back later for the face scrub or whatever. She wasn't, obviously. She'd already lost the trust of this lady. Um, then the lady was like, let me go ahead and run your card to see if you have enough. What? And then it's not even done. Listen. So
oh
she's
my
like, let me
god,
see if I can just run your card. And the lady's like, what are you talking about? Obviously not telling her the total of the product. That was probably like $700 at that point. So she got up and she's like making her way, like I'm on the phone, like walking to the bank, like really trying to detach herself from this person. Halfway through another store, like multiple feet away, right? She feels a tap on her shoulder. Lo and behold, she looks behind. The saleswoman followed her to her bank. And then she still was like pestering her trying to guilt trip her. And then she even said this. She said, "Don't you care about your skin?" What? And when she finally got irritated enough, she told her, like, I didn't have any intention of spending over $100. Then the lady just started cursing in a different language and left. Took off. After she had followed her to another store. Now, Gabe, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that that's a great way to sell somebody something?
That's a great way to get the cops called on you.
That's what I'm saying. That is crazy work there. That is next level bad sales, right?
Yeah, I mean that's taking what can be used ethically and in service in sales. That's taking a concept way too far. That is assuming the sale.
Sure.
And if you're in enough sales groups and you're around enough salespeople, especially ones that don't really have their customers' best interest in mind, they'll be like, "Well, just assume the sale. Talk like they're already going to buy it. Put stuff in their bag." I've never heard that before, but
That's
I mean,
crazy.
that's the same thing. And that's a great extreme example of what people do when they're trying to sell.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a couple things that happen there. One is you lose trust, and the person, if they allow themselves to be manipulated, will never refer you, never recommend the products, and will have a bad experience and probably won't even use the products.
Yeah.
So you're not really serving them. And then in addition, when you take that approach, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. You're taking revenue away from your business when you sell that way. Just like we said earlier, if you're going to push and manipulate and push, then people won't keep buying. And we don't need a bunch of new customers. We need aligned customers that will buy from us for many years or many buying cycles, depending on your business.
Right.
And very clearly, that salesperson was extremely needy. And people can tell when you're chasing the sale, when you really need the money. And all entrepreneurs, I've been in that position where I really do need to close sales. That needs to be separated healthily and compartmentalized, and that's about running the business. But when I'm in the sales call, I pretend that I have all the money in the world and I don't need the money from the person I'm talking to. Mm-hmm. I need to make sure that I serve them all with the best solution for them, which I'll give a quick example here. About a year ago, I was introduced to somebody who definitely needed marketing services and technology help and all the things we do, and we could have absolutely crunched it for them. But through the sales conversations, giving them time, educating, empowering them, they got to the point where they wanted to buy. And I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to let you buy today because you've described some other challenges in the business, and I don't feel responsible allowing you to spend money on marketing yet.
Yep.
Let's take a pause for 60 to 90 days. And then when you have 3 or 4 months of cash set aside just to invest in this initiative, then let's actually start then, because I don't want you to start too early. This is about your success, because if you're successful, I'm successful. That's what sales is about, truly serving people. And so, interestingly enough, like 90 days later, this prospect wasn't ready, but 6 months later, they're now talking to me about doing what will turn into a multi-million-dollar deal.
Exactly.
And they would have never, ever come back to talk to me if I took their money, made it more painful for them in business. They weren't ready. So the success of your customer is your success, and you've got to view it that way. And wow, what a horror story of a sales experience.
Man, I'm telling you guys, check out Small Business subreddit. It is insane. Me and Ashley were checking that out, and it was just like horror story after horror story, and it baffles my mind that people think that kind of selling works. Like it's like you said, like if you show up to try and really serve people and build that rapport, no matter what it is, it will come back to pay you no matter what. And like you said, even if you're in a desperate time in business where you do need to get sales, that like we're not sugarcoating anything. There are investment seasons in business like that where you do need to get the sale. But it's never okay to twist somebody's arm into almost like a harassment charge there. You know what I mean? That's crazy. And so definitely don't do that. You can position your sales in ways to serve and, healthily engage them and provide resources and tools, but not that. A good example is like I talk to, Gabe, hundreds of business owners every week, every month, and oftentimes they're not ready for marketing services. Oftentimes, especially in the season we're in, economically, it's hard for people. And so what I will still do is I will show up and provide information and even send free resources, a link to our podcast so they can check us out here. Free sales resources and things like that, just so that they know that I care about their growth and their success. And like you said, oftentimes they will come back in a different season. They're like, I remember that conversation with you. Like subconsciously, they're thinking, I remember this conversation with Nathan or Gabe, and they really, really were there with my best interest in mind. And then you will have a customer almost for life, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The most important thing in sales is that every day we sow into our Goodwill bank account.
That's exactly
Because
right. I love that.
if you invest in your Goodwill bank account, you will make all the money you need to make in your life as long as you're consistent. And when you are in a season as a business owner where you need the money, you cannot, well, it's very, very unwise. You can do what you want, but you will shoot yourself in your foot if you show up from a place of need and you try to manipulate. But if you need more money, then you just need to double down your efforts and have more conversations and do some cold outreach and increase your marketing. Like you've got to invest somewhere else so you have more times at bat, more opportunities to serve somebody that's really aligned, that you can make their success your success, or help them be successful. But you can't pin all your financial needs on one person and expect that that's going to work out, because even if you manipulate them and they sign up, they'll leave so fast and they'll be a challenging customer because they got manipulated into the relationship.
And then that's poor. We talk about this all the time. Then that creates a poor experience for your internal team too. You're not protecting the people that you work with. You know what I mean? Because you manipulated somebody to make a poor decision. That's going to trickle down throughout your entire company. Every single person that prospect engages with, it's going to be a negative experience. And so, one thing I wanted to ask you, kind of a fun little exercise, is you heard the horror story, right? Like you know that this person was a very, very pushy and crazy salesperson. What would you have done differently? Say that you were in her shoes, you were selling something in a similar way, and you did need to make that sale. Well, how would you approached it differently than running after them down the mall?
I would have tied them up and stolen their wallet. No, I would have. If I'm going to go that far, I might as well just turn into a criminal. No. When you're in that position, you need to look for time leverage and frequency of opportunity. So what I would have done is made a sign and said free samples, and I would have put out 6 or 7 or 8 chairs, and I would have invited a bunch of people in and say, I'm going to give you free samples of this really high quality product. Now there is an investment with it, but I don't want you to worry about investing in this product today. I just want you to try this and think about it. And when you come back to the mall, if you like it, then I'll be here. Because if you did that cycle, if you're able to put, like, we'll say 10 people in all your chairs every hour, then 80 people in 8 hours would have sat down and had the experience. Out of that, even if you're not that skilled in healthy, ethical sales, you'd probably have 3 or 4 people buy from you. So then you'd have 300 or 400 in sales. And then if you got everybody's email address, you can say, by the way, I'm going to email you a free skincare guide. Then you could have their contact information. And when they come back to the mall, they would have such a pleasant experience with you that you probably would have gotten 3 or 4 more buyers from that. And you could get to a 10% close rate, which is a really great close rate on cold, which that's cold traffic in the mall.
Yeah.
And then if you keep doing that, you will get a reputation, and some people will come back and take a free sample over and over, and that's okay. Like, build that into your business model.
Did you see that really nice bald guy at the at the kiosk?
The skincare guy that will sell you hair products.
Rubbed it on his head, like, yeah. But yeah, that experience will trickle down too to the community, especially in a position like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just show up and be a good human, and people will love you, and people like buying from people that they like and appreciate.
Yeah, that was a couple things that I had there too, is like emotional based appeals to people. You know what I mean? If you're a nice person to somebody, they're gonna remember that, and they're also gonna remember the crazy lady that chased you down at the mall, and they're gonna tell everybody else you go to the mall with that
stay away,
avoid this lady at all costs, and then all of a sudden this lady is getting complaints from the people there, and then the mall people ask her to leave. That's how bad it can get, right? If you're extremely scummy and very, very pushy in sales, it can cause major problems. And so those are just some things I wanted to kind of talk about today and like educate people on when it comes to, you don't have to be pushy and overbearing to make sales. Sales is about serving, showing up and making people feel comfortable, that you're trustworthy, and that they're making a healthy investment, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all about service. That's the best way to build a long-term career in sales. And if you serve through your marketing with high value, true problem-solving solutions and information, they'll trust you and be willing to have a conversation or trust you enough to buy your product. And that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, and that's something I wanted to say to everybody too, guys. You will never experience that here. I love to just have great conversations with people, and so if you've experienced some terrible sales examples like we heard earlier, drop it in the comments because I want to hear about it. Because the more awareness we have, the more we can avoid that type of behavior and exhibit better sales behavior. So tell me, have you had a crazy mall lady? Have you, had a horrible drive-through experience? I'd love to hear that stuff. And then if you guys are looking for a seasoned team of marketing experts that will never push you one way or the other, you can give me a call and I can learn more about your business. But Gabe, we just have a couple more minutes here, but it could not be an episode, Gabe, without a win, right? So I want to mention a win that we've talked about, a client before, Lotus Life. So we're not just focused on the immediate sale, as we've established here today. We're about building lasting relationships by giving our clients sort of the space that they need to make big decisions and to really make their funnels work correctly. So yesterday, we actually just reported 2 new sales from this client, and it just really highlights the power of building trust and prioritizing relationships, because we wouldn't be able to get those sales if we didn't do the deep market research needed to target those types of people and to be able to educate the client on how these funnels will help bring those types of people in, right?
Yeah, we really, partner with that client, researched all the customers that have bought from them, built marketing that helped their prospective audience go, oh, that's me, I want to learn more. And we've walked that client through a couple big pivots in their business, and we meet with them and we adjust process or strategy, and we make sure that they have all the support they need. And so it's so awesome to see them stabilize as a company, because all of us go through seasons where we need to change and adjust, and there's new things to roll through, but they're achieving stabilization. They're in a position now where they can scale sales and revenue, and they really show up and serve their customers
they
well.
Do.
That's why we love partnering with them.
Yeah, and they provide excellent products and services, you know what I mean? That's the important part. Our clients are so awesome, they make it easy for us, Gabe, because we help bring them aligned prospects and customers, and they show up and serve them for years to come. That's how the true cycle works, and so I just love that. And last thing I'll say is, guys, you don't need to be a crazy mall lady to make sales. You just have to show up and serve and build rapport with people and make them feel comfortable rather than chasing them to the bank. So I thought that was a fun little episode that we had here today, Gabe. Guys, if you liked the video, throw it a thumbs up for us. Share it with your friends. We always love to have new people join the family. So shoot a subscribe our way as well. That way you get notified when we put out our new episodes every single Friday. And again, if you want a team of dedicated experts working around the clock for your marketing success, let us know. I'd love to hear the horror stories you have with other salespeople and also some of the successes that you've had in business here recently as well. And then also, as always, we have our free newsletter where we share awesome stories and tips like we do on the podcast. And so there will be a link down below where you can join that absolutely free. Gabe, of course, it was a pleasure to be here with you again, and we will see all of you next Friday.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.